Hi everyone, welcome to today's video where we're going to talk about January official release numbers for Nio, LiAuto and Xpeng. Sadly, it's another disappointing month for Nio. In fact, it's a really disappointing number, and at this point I think the management still have a lot of questions to answer for. If we look at the monthly delivery numbers, remember that I was hoping at 25,000 in the end of last month once Nio delivered 31,500 cars. I said that 25,000 would look a little bit of conservative, but due to the Chinese New Year and due to the very bad start of 23 and 2024 in January and February, I said, let's go back a little bit at least to 25,000, which still would be the second best month in their history. And now we have the official numbers, and we are nowhere near close those numbers. In fact, if you look at the monthly delivery numbers for Nio right now, you can see that Nio came in below 14,000, so 13,863. Now you would argue that, yeah, but it's the Chinese New Year, right? But here's the deal. Look at Xpeng. Xpeng delivered in December 36,700, in January 30,000. LiAuto delivered in December, let's see here, they delivered 58,000, now they delivered 29,000. So I'm not sure, like no matter how you look and dice it, you can see that it's not such a great look for Nio, although Xpeng did better than LiAuto for sure, because LiAuto's sales drop is a little bit more drastic, the likes of Nio, but Nio's I think the worst compared to the others. And this is with the fact that Nio swap data is kind of very good in the last few days. You can see that they're averaging 95,000 swaps over the month of January per day. That's great. But then the usual suspect problem, they increased the swap stations. Like again, they now added something like 150 in very few weeks. And already according to the latest update, we are at 3,106. Only in September we were at 2,500. So they've been averaging around 100 swaps or so per month roughly since September. And this is not great since we have this also sales number, right? I mean, with these sales number that they show, I think 13,000 is absolute like disaster. I have to be honest. Now, there is one caveat. What if a lot of the cars were, sold and shipped to other countries? That's a possibility that we don't know. Nio officially doesn't specify how much of these cars are, going outside China or not. So it's difficult to say. But when I look at everything together, quick look at the lithium carbonate price still hovering in the lows. It's great to see below 80,000. I'm very happy about it. Over the past 5 years, the peak in 2022 and 2023. But no matter how you look at this is not a great start to 2025. Some people say, but it's much better than January of last year at 10,000. Sure, it's a good 39% increase. That's great year on year. But again, look at the difference between Nio and Xpeng. And this is why for the past 6 months, maybe I should have done it way earlier, but for the past 6 months I've been talking about Xpeng as the more serious investment. That's the honest truth. Like, this management team simply don't care. Like, why do you spend so much money on the swap infrastructure where you can barely sell 7,000 in the traditional Nio brand for 1 month of January and something like 5,000-6,000 in the other sub-brand Onvo? Do you remember the comments, right? So here's the comments that they gave a while back. October 5,000 Onvo, December 10k, January 16k. They're falling short of 10,000 cars in January only for Onvo. Let me tell you that again. Like, for January the goal was 16,000 cars. They sold something like 5,000. I mean, this is a joke. This is an absolute joke. You can see here Onvo's official numbers, 5,912. When I read this number, for a moment I thought, no, this has to be a typo, because if you go to the weekly delivery numbers, for 2025, you can see that Nio was already up to something like 13,313 cars by the end of 19th of January. So what have they done in 11 days? So again, either we don't know something, like either they somehow reported cars that gonna be delivered, en masse in the first 2 or 3 days of the February month, like, on Monday or Tuesday. But then again, it's Chinese New Year, so maybe what I'm playing at now is like potentially they're sitting with like 10,000 cars that was supposed to be delivered by these 2 last weeks, but due to the Chinese New Year's end of January and early February, maybe the first 2 or 3 working days after the Chinese New Year, which finishes in early February, we should see a huge ramp up. That's the only excuse they have left. That's the only explanation I can come up with that could potentially explain these numbers. If not, this is an absolute disaster. This doesn't bode well for the stock if there isn't any explanation that I just gave to you. So let's wait and see. It was a quick update, but honestly, if that explanation is not going to come to fruition, if this is the actual numbers for January, 13,000, between 13 and 14,000, I wouldn't be surprised that Xpeng marches up to, let's say, I don't know, let's say maybe even closer to $20 by summer of this year, probably even earlier if they show very quick path to profitability, maybe even $30. Like if Xpeng at this rate, I mean, they're selling 30,000 cars already. By end of this year, Xpeng could be selling 50,000 cars at the rate they are growing. It's a completely different league. Yeah, sure, it's different price target, blah, 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 blah. But then again, for Nio, if you know that you are selling cars in much higher price target, why are you making a quadrillion different car brands, different car, right? Why do you need like a 85 Touring, a 87, or 89? Like you're selling like -3 cars per model, right? How many models do you need? Please, for the love of God, maybe slow it down, just focus on 3, 4, 5 cars, 5 different models, and try to sell them at least in the thousands. I mean, you are doing like a quadrillion different models, and every year you're updating them and refreshing them, and every year this excuse for first half of the year is, yeah, but people are waiting for the 2025 model year, so they're not buying the 2024. No other electric car vehicle brand has this kind of excuse. Like, just focus on a few models and try to make them efficient, and then let's see what happens. And don't waste your time on like building out also a quadrillion different swap stations. Like, sure, people are like for sure actually using them. You can see that the usage is almost double of the level of January of 2024 at around 56,000 per day. But this has to translate into money making. I'm not looking at how many swaps they are making. I'm looking at how much money can they make on the swaps. That's all that matters. And we are way beyond those years where you could say like the fleet is small and they have a fleet that soon will be 1 million cars. They're close to 700 cars already. So why aren't we seeing anything coming to kind of profitability? Honestly, I'm very confused and I'm very disappointed with the management. But again, the only explanation left is that they're gonna have a clump delivery, like 10,000 or 12,000 in the first week of the first full week after the Chinese New Year. So let's wait and see. But I have to be honest with you. At the moment, when I look at the facts, I like Xpeng much more. I don't care, again, if you look at the market capitalization and you say Xpeng has 14 billion and Nio 9 billion. Yeah, but they are clearly showing that, I mean, they outsold Nio by more than 2x in January. I'm telling you again, they outsold Nio by more than 2x, like something like 125% more cars than Nio sold. Again, cheaper, but they have fewer models, they're more efficient, they will make more money, or they will become profitable faster. I think so long as all the other bullish YouTubers don't raise the critical thinking of the management, maybe they have a feeling that the smaller investor on our side and they just do whatever they actually want. Maybe it's high time now that people start to set some demands on this management team. This is not good again. So sorry to be a little bit angry, but that's just the reality as I see it. You might, as you saw in some other videos, a few people threatened me with all sort of different things, but I just, I'm a long-term investor that growing really, really frustrating. And you might say that the likes of Morty on Twitter, that he's a little bit, he was a little bit maybe making joke about Nio, but I think at the current stage, who could blame him? He's right. Like, Morty is definitely right. I mean, he's now making jokes about Nio. He's making jokes about Nio, like selling yoga classes. So I think that tells at least something, right? Look at him here. Like, he's honestly, I actually like this comment, because I think at this point he's kind of right. So thank you for your time. Please like and comment in the comment section, and see you in the next one.